Hey everyone. I was riding around in my car today, listening to this back and forth between the Pope and Donald Trump, and I could barely contain my laughter. I mean, this was, a real epic steel cage battle between the two. And the campaign has truly reached the level of theater of the absurd now. But I have a few thoughts to share on the Pope versus the Donald. First of all, I think the Pope has been widely misunderstood. He wasn't saying that Donald Trump wasn't a Christian. He was saying that Donald Trump wasn't very Christian, in the same sense that you would say being mean to little old ladies isn't very Christian. Being cruel to small children isn't very Christian. It didn't have to do with whether Donald Trump was a Christian. It had to do with what kind of a person he was. Now, the second part of the quote that's been largely misunderstood is that the Pope wasn't saying, hey, anybody who wants to build a wall isn't very Christian. What he was saying, and I think he was speaking more metaphorically, he was offering us a little parable. He was saying, those who want to build walls but don't want to build bridges aren't very Christian. So, the translation is, those who want to divide but make no effort to unite people are not very Christian. That's not the same thing as saying, hey, anybody who wants to build a wall anywhere can't be very Christian. Those are two completely different things. So my point is that the Pope wasn't questioning Donald Trump's religiosity. He was questioning his character. Essentially, the Pope was saying, Donald Trump is rude, crude, and obnoxious, and that's not very Christian. Now, the next interesting thing about the back and forth was Trump's reaction to the Pope. Trump says, it's disgraceful for the Pope to question my religion. Well, where has Donald Trump been for 60 years? That's what church elders do. That's what church leaders do. That's what the Inquisition was about. That's what the Crusades were about. Church leaders pass judgment on people's character. It comes with a job description. Furthermore, Trump didn't seem to mind for the last 8 years when people were throwing brickbats at Obama over his religion. Barack Obama has had his Christianity questioned more than any president in history. In fact, if you did a poll of Trump supporters, probably a good number of them would still claim that Obama was a Muslim. So my point is this, the Pope wasn't questioning Donald Trump's devoutness. He was questioning his character. Essentially, the Pope was saying something that we already know, which is Donald Trump is a jerk. Even supporters of Donald Trump believe he's a jerk. How can I say that? Well, every time I listen to a man on the street interview from South Carolina, what they say is, I'm supporting Donald Trump because he's extending a big middle finger to the establishment. Yeah, they feel that he's a jerk, and that's what they're looking for in a candidate, and that's why they support him. Even his supporters think he's toxic and obnoxious. And by the way, while I'm on the subject of obnoxious, has anyone noticed that Sarah Palin has become invisible? You remember when she endorsed the Donald? All the pundits were out saying, oh my God, this is a collaboration made in heaven. This is unstoppable. She's going to accompany him all over the place, and the crowds they're going to attract are going to be over the top. Well, it's not what happened at all. Donald took one look at Sarah Palin, listened to her incoherent rant and ramble that day, and realized, the one way he could lose this thing would be to associate himself too closely with her. The minute Tina Fey came out and did another one of her dead-on impersonations of Sarah Palin on SNL, Trump took one look at it and said, this is the last time I want to be seen in public with Sarah Palin. Now, do I think that Trump will lose anything from this contretemps with the Pope? No, I don't think so. The evangelical vote in Iowa couldn't have cared less that Ted Cruz was a serial engager in voter fraud, sending out phony forms, lying about Carson dropping out of the race. Nobody cared. There are no principles in this race, whether you're evangelical or whatever your religious stripe may be. So picking a fight with the Pope isn't going to hurt him at all. My guess is the only thing that will really hurt Trump is when the Republican field gets winnowed down to two people, and all of the more centrist vote gets centered around one individual rather than split up among six individuals. And then we'll see what the real support is of Donald Trump in the Republican Party. My final thought about this is it's clear that the Pope doesn't like Donald Trump. My guess is that the Pope is probably a Bernie Sanders supporter. Who'd have thunk it? I'm Jeff Rowan. See you next time.